one of the most popular events on the 1UP Superstar Series calendar and our only trip overseas in the 1UP Superstar Series schedule. It is the Made in Italy 125 here at the famous Temple of Speed itself in Monza. I'm alongside James Ellison for this 20-lap event here in the Italian countryside, and this is going to be one of the biggest events we have, one of our crown jewels here at Monza. And for a moment, I'd like to talk about the strategy involved in this race, because these guys will be burning through their fuel at an incredible rate. And so I fully expect them to split this race into quarters. 5-lap runs before making their pit stop, split this race into 4 segments of 5 laps each. That way you'll be able to make it to the end. But I have a feeling some people are going to try something a little different, and that may be the difference between who wins this race and who misses out.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a real exciting race. 20 laps doesn't seem like much when you look at it initially, but then you look at how big the track is, how long the laps are, and good lord.
And now, looking at the starting lineup for the Made in Italy 125, Diego Yepes in the 77 Dodge gets his first career pole with a lap of 2 minute 10.747. He lines up on pole position, a full tenth of a second clear of last year's winner of this race, Stephen Hunter, in the 51. Sam Denota makes his return to the 00 car in the 5th spot in qualifying. And we've got some good drivers starting at the tail end of the field for this one, like Bobo Jones 30th, and J.D. Martin 29th. So we got some guys have to come from the back to the front, but if there's ever a road course you'd be okay with starting further back in, it's this one, because there's passing opportunities all over this place, whether it be on the flat out banking or in this technical section in the middle of the lap.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical road course, and there's plenty of opportunities for everyone. If somebody falls back, they have an opportunity to get back up unless there's some kind of mechanical issue or they get caught up in some wreck or something. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
So, with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid, and we are ready to bring you 20 laps of racing here at the Temple of Speed. This is the 1UP Superstar Series from Monza in the Italian countryside, and we're ready to bring it to you. The green flag is mere moments away. You're not going to want to miss a second. Can Diego Yepes convert his first career pole into his first career win? We're about to find out together as the pace car is on pit road, leaves us in the hands of Yepes and Stephen Hunter. The green flag is out, and we are underway at Monza, and the field bunched up together pretty tightly, and we expect it to stay that way for a very good duration of this race. And look at him barreling off into the banking, approaching 200 miles per hour already, as Stephen Hunter noses his way out into the lead, with Jake McMillan following right behind him.
Yeah, Hunter didn't waste any time taking that away from pole sitter Yepes, so he wants to have an early advantage even with these laps being so long. If he can hold on all the way to the start-finish line, that'll be important.
Coming down into the Curva Grande we go, and it looks like Yepes is going to launch his way around the outside, try and take the lead back from Stephen Hunter with help from JQ Halleck in the 4, who's had a wretched start to this season. 3 DNFs in the first 3 races. Everybody makes it through the Curva Grande cleanly, and they bunch all together going for Della Raggia. That allows Hunter to keep the lead for the time being as we head into the slowest portion of the lap, the 2 Plesmo Corners, where Hunter continues to keep his lead steady.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of a close call there for Halleck, but everything's straightened out now, all good, so it's good to see that this has started off fairly cleanly on this very long first lap.
Each lap is well over 2 minutes long, and that gives each driver several opportunities to make passes and to defend them as they head through Ascari now, heading down the short chute into Parabolica, one of the most famous corners of this entire lap, and it's a critical one because it's the final braking event of the lap. So you need to nail it really well, and it looks like everybody's managed to do so. Stephen Hunter stretches out his lead to about 2 car lengths over Diego Yepes running in second, Jake McMillan third, and then Halleck fourth, and Roberto Crown Jr., who failed to qualify for this race 1 year ago, making his Monza debut, is currently running in the 5th position.
Yeah, it's nice to see how stretched out they're getting, but at the same time, you know that's probably not going to stay like it because we're back into the banking already here. So I'm just feeling, hey, Yepes might be actually making a move here, I'm seeing.
The slipstream is very effective here at Monza, and especially when you have help. And Diego Yepes seems to have it. He's alongside Stephen Hunter at the complete lap number 1. But as they barrel off into the south banking once more, Hunter looks like he'll be able to keep the lead. We'll see if Yepes can keep the slipstream going down this long straightaway into Curva Grande. It will be very interesting to see which driver will get the advantage, because it looks like the outside of Curva Grande is the way to go right now, but it switches around to the outside of Della Raggia, and that allows Hunter to probably keep his lead, but Yepes is going for it anyway. Around the outside of Curva Grande, he's got the lead for the time being, but once they go for Della Raggia, the preferred groove changes, and it allows Hunter to potentially keep his lead, which he does.
Hunter's got a really strong car right now, and that's a good thing to have early on in this event. And Yepes has been trying here and there, but that 51 is very strong.
Keep in mind, Stephen Hunter won this race by half a car length over Andres Molina 1 year ago. He's looking to go back-to-back in this race and get his 9th career win right here in the same place he got his 4th win a year ago, as they barrel under the banking down towards Ascari to complete lap number 2. And looks like it's pretty single file through about the top 7 or 8. The first side-by-side battle I can see is between Roberto Crown Jr. and Andres Molina, but now I saw Yepes and McMillan go side-by-side for a brief moment, but side-by-side in the Parabolica barely ever works out.
It's a good thing that didn't last very long, because if it hadn't worked out at all, we could have had a mess with there being so many drivers so close behind them.
So as Stephen Hunter launches it into the North Banking to complete lap number 2, he's led the first lap, and he's going to most likely lead the second one as well. This is going to be a very close race, even if Hunter's so far keeping a pretty steady lead. Because now McMillan is moving to the outside of Diego Yepes to try and take the second spot away as we complete lap number 2. Oh, Yepes chops him off. That was very close from the 77 driver. And they sweep it into the banking once again. And that was a very close call. And I'm pretty sure Jake McMillan is not too happy with the defensive driving of Diego Yepes.
Yepes was probably getting told, come to your outside, and he just cut it up there to make sure he could get it, and he almost paid the price.
Everybody's going clean so far, as you see McMillan now try and go around the outside of Curva Grande to try and get around Yepes there, but he's got to realize once they get to Della Raggia, the preferred groove switches, and now Yepes will have the preferred line through there, and he will keep second spot, and this is just allowing Stephen Hunter to get an even bigger lead. And now we have Jake Uhalik running 4th. He's closing back into the mix, they are. And Mark Davey, who runs a little wide in the 01. He won the Pensacola 500, of course, a few weeks ago. But this is his bread and butter race type. The road courses are where he shines. He won 3 of those in 2021 in the Nitro National Series, and he's looking to get his 2nd career win and only his 5th career start.
Yeah, really strong running right there with a lot of these drivers, as Halleck has been passed now, I see.
By Mark Davey in the 01. I expect that 01 car to be a big factor in this race by the time it's all said and done. He's already clear of Halleck, and now Davey can start to close in on the top 3. You can see McMillan did get around Diego Yepes while we were talking earlier. So let's see what McMillan can do with the 51 of Stephen Hunter as they barrel down the double-ended straightaway here, heading into the banking once again to complete lap number 3. And we're about halfway through a fuel run already, as surprising as that may seem to people just watching this series for the first time. But these cars can only make it about 5 or 6 laps before they need the pit. So this is a very good opportunity. You need the pit. You need to get the lead whenever possible, and McMillan's going to try it going into the South Banking.
McMillan's trying, but Yepes like, I want my 2nd place back.
Yep. McMillan has to back out of it. That allows Yepes pass and Mark Davey, and now he's under pressure from Jake Uhalik and Roberto Crown Jr. in the 81. McMillan had a bit of a moment there in the south banking, and that allowed a lot of guys to pass him, and now Mark Davies in the mix for the lead as Yepes tries to go around the outside of Curva Grande to try and take the lead from Stephen Hunter.
Yepes really wants to get back up there. He didn't get to lead the first lap from the pole. He wants that now, but Davies like, I'm in the mix now.
And going into the Plesmo Corners, this allows McMillan to catch right back up. Everybody's still in contention in the top 10, separated by only 3 seconds. All the way back to Hale Tesker Jr. in the 10th spot, who has recently been passed for that spot. You see in the back your shot by Christian Vargas in the 54. Now Yepes is going to try and take the lead for good here, going into the Ascari corner, and it looks like they're still going to be side by side down the short chute into Parabolica, but Yepes and Hunter playing the game of chicken into Parabolica. This is going to be a little risky, and they stay side by side through Parabolica. But Hunter has the preferred line through the corner, and he's going to easily clear Yepes once again.
Yepes just can't complete the pass. He's got to be thinking, even though it's still very early on in this, what do I got to do?
And he's doing everything he can, but Hunter's just got too good a car and too strong of a defensive drive to where he can cover off the 77 wherever he can. Now Mark Davey makes a move to the inside of Diego Yepes, trying to get the second spot away. Coming off the final corner to complete lap number 4, and we're approaching the pit window now. These cars should be coming in probably this lap to split this race into 4 quarters. So this is going to be a very fast in-lap for all of these guys. They got to go as fast as they can to try and push these tires to the limit, because they know they'll be taking them off in a little bit.
Yeah, they're just going to have to really work hard here, and starting to get a little bit mixed it up there behind Yepes, as we got a few of them catching back up from all this fighting for second and the lead.
Powering around Curva Grande, Hunter continues to lead, but it's side by side, 2 rows deep for right behind him as Davey now tries to nose out ahead of Yepes, and he clears going into De La Ragia. That's the first time we've seen anybody manage to clear a car getting into that corner. So that just goes to show how good a car Mark Davey has. And he knows that if he can get out in front of this field, he's going to be very hard to beat, but he's got to get in front of Stephen Hunter, and so far, no one's been able to do that so far this race.
I see the 21 there. We got McMillan coming back up on Yepes, except it's not for second this time, and he's just doing everything he can here as they go under this banking again.
Heading into Ascari now, Stephen Hunter has a pretty comfortable lead, as comfortable as you can get on the high-speed Monza circuit. And Yepes manages to re-clear Jake McMillan as they head into Parabolica. This is the last braking zone of the lap, so it's very important to get this right, and everybody does so far. One car well off the pace, and it looks like there he is, the 18, the Atlanta winner. Jared Polanski's had a major issue with that 18 car. He is well off the pace in that. He's over a minute and a half behind the race leader Stephen Hunter. Something must have happened to that 18. We'll find what happened to Jared Polanski and bring you coverage of what happened to him. But we've got pit stops to report on. And it looks like Hunter's going to be the first one to pull off. Yepes is going to come with him. But Mark Davey is going to stay on the racetrack an extra lap. He's going to try and overcut these guys, which is if you can make the fuel and tires last, that's something that could pay off here. We'll see who prevails, the undercutters or the overcutters, as right now, we're going to take a look at what happened to Jared Polanski in this 18. So you see Polanski was a bit out of shape going into this corner, and going into the Lesmos, I think he's going to get a tap from behind. Yes, he is, by William Brock in the 93. They both go off track, sliding through the sand trap and into the grass. They're both able to recover, but I think what's going to happen, and we see this quite often here at Monza, while Brock is able to get back onto the racetrack without much issue, Jared Polanski gets caught behind the Armco here, and he's just going to ride against the barrier, trying to avoid whatever he can, and he is just stuck there until the partition opens up and he's able to get back on the track. But a tough break for Jared Polanski. He runs last up till now, because we've got another one stalled on pit road. It's the 92, last week's winner, Jeffrey Finguy at Bristol. He won that race, but now he's stuck on pit road for an extended period of time. We'll find out what happened to him in a bit, but I believe actually Jake McMillan managed to get ahead of Stephen Hunter in the pit lane. So McMillan should be the leader of the race once Mark Davey and Cale Tesker Jr. pit. And it looks like they're going to do that right now. Here comes Davey into the pits on lap to complete lap number 6. Cale Tesker Jr. comes in to join him. But this is going to be the battle for the lead, because McMillan is now ahead of Stephen Hunter, and Yepes has fallen quite a ways behind them. So pit stops have shaken up the order here, as now Yepes battles Andres Molina going into Parabolica.
Yeah, this strategy has really jumbled things up, and well, Hunter's trying to go back up for what will become the lead here shortly. He's not satisfied with running behind.
Yeah, and he goes into the North Banking ahead of Jake McMillan, so Hunter takes the position back, and we'll see once Davey and Tesker Jr. exit the pit lane, we'll see where they blend out, and here they come, out of the pits right now. So, and Jeffrey Finguy is still stuck in the pits. We're trying, it might be a mechanical issue with the 92. We'll diagnose what the issue is in a moment, but here comes Hunter and McMillan. They're closing in rapidly on the 0-2 of Cale Tesker Jr., who's still getting up to speed, remember. But I believe Mark Davey is actually going to assume the lead of this race. The overcut might pay off right here, and it certainly will. Mark Davey's the leader of this race by quite some margin now.
That I was thinking earlier, that is a bold strategy, and the overcut's paying off on this one. Still got a long way to go, though.
And it worked for Cale Tesker Jr. as well, because he was running on the fringes of the top 10 before that pit stop, and now he's running right with the leaders in 4th. As you see Jeffrey Finguy, he's still stuck in the pit lane. He's gone a lap down already, and that's pretty much destroyed his race. But hoping to get back out there, complete however many laps he can. And now, making our way through, we've got one out of the race already. It looks like it took place during the pit stops, and it's the Mountain Dew Dodge of Lane Sanders, who started 19th in this race. So here's Lane Sanders. He was coming in to make his pit stop with everybody else at lap 5. And he's going to, I think he's going to come in way too hot, and he just slams into the back of Zachary Fitzwater at 59. These two have a history, remember. And both cars are significantly damaged, and for Lane Sanders, it was enough to take him out of the race right there and then. Fitzwater will be able to continue well in the back of the pack, but for Lane Sanders, it's game over at Monza. He'll have to regroup and reset for Las Vegas next week, and hope he can improve there.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Sanders, and I'm pretty sure that, like you said, given the history that the two had, it's probably best in Fitzy's eyes that he's out of it.
And while we were covering the Lane Sanders incident, we've had a lead change. Stephen Hunter and Jake McMillan have both gotten around Mark Davey. So now the battle for the lead is between McMillan and Hunter heading into the Curva Grande once again. And Hunter's doing everything he can to hold off that 21. And man, Mark Davey always takes such a wide line through Curva Grande. It's a huge risk doing it, but you can find speed that way. And Davey's running right on the edge of making it work as they head into the slowest portion of the lap, the 2 Plesmo Corners. And now Hunter is stretching his legs out in the front, but we have one out of this race right now, Lane Sanders in the 41, and one potentially out of the race, Jeffrey Finguy in the 92. But there's still hope that the 92 can rejoin the race, albeit without a shot at winning it. But this is going to be an interesting battle to see, because we have 37 cars on track right now. All of them are on the lead lap. It's just going to be a very interesting battle to keep our eye on for the rest of this race, because Hunter's had the dominant car all day. Let's just see if he can make it work, because we're closing in already on our second set of pit stops.
Yeah, right now, well, I would have to say, yeah, the overcut strategy definitely worked for Davey, but at the same time, we see how strong that number 51 Camry is. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing if Hunter's dominance so far can continue all the way to the checkered flag.
And the question is, will the guys that have overcut on the first stop, will they continue to do so the next time around? Will they continue to commit to this overcutting strategy that these guys have put themselves in, or will they adjust their strategy and follow what the leaders do? It's going to be very interesting to see as they blast past the start-finish line, the complete lap number 8. We're almost halfway through at Monza, and now Jake McMillan's going to take a half peek to the outside, but Hunter covers him off easily. You got plenty of room on this banking to go flat out, and by the time you reach the Curva Grande, you're going almost 230 down the straightaway.
Yeah, this is really fast corners, and it's just really tight racing when everybody's all bunched together. And speaking of tight racing, McMillan is right there again.
He's pushing Hunter through Curva Grande, and again Mark Davey has such a wide line through that corner. If you get onto the grass, that is a big danger going into there. We've seen cars go off there in previous years, but Davey, with his road course talent, makes it work, and he's closing back in on these guys. So it continues to be a 3-car battle for the lead, with Cale Tesker Jr. not too far behind in the 02, but everybody else is well behind. At least 3.5 seconds behind is the 5th place car, Henry Thomas. And Diego Yepes, who was running so strong in the early portion of this race, has now fallen to the final car in the top 10, running in 10th place. It just goes to show these cars are very sensitive in these high speeds. As we look back now at the battle for 7th, it looks like, between Andres Molina and Roberto Khan Jr. I expected a lot more from Andres Molina in this race so far. So far, he hasn't been performing at the level... Well, of course, he's running in the top 10, which is a very good run for the 17. But he led the vast majority of this race last year and came within half a car length of winning it. So to see him running just inside the top 10 is a little bit worrying. But there's still over half the race to go, and I fully expect him to make it back to the front in no time flat. But right now, we're closing in on the end of lap 9, and Stephen Hunter's pulled out quite a handy lead over McMillan and Davey as they come off the final corner here. This is going to be a very interesting battle because now we're approaching the second set of pit stops, and we've seen how that can change these races.
It's going to be interesting to see, like you said before, overcut strategy, is that going to be played again by the same people who did it before? Who's going to try it this time? Who's going to stay with what they've done before? Got to change it up sometimes if you're going to be able to have a shot, though it doesn't seem to be bothering Davey all that much.
Yeah, even on his overcut strategy, he has remained with the leaders, and as they head into Curva Grande on the halfway lap, this is going to be an in-lap for these guys. And barreling off, McMillan's now the one going really wide at Curva Grande. They almost scrape sides through McMillan and Hunter. They go side by side through Curva Grande, a dangerous maneuver, but well worth it if you can manage the risk. But, they come close to making contact again in the Della Raggia, and they're just coming up now into the Plesmo Corners. This is the slowest portion of the lap, but you're not safe here. We saw Jared Polanski go off at this point of the racetrack, so this is going to be close. And will Mark Davey commit to his overcut strategy, or will he follow these guys in? It's going to be worth keeping an eye on, because Davey and Tesker Jr. were the 2 cars that made the overcut work on the first set of stops, and they run 3rd and 4th right now. So we'll see if they do it again, but right now Hunter has a pretty handy lead, and that is well worth having on your way into the pits here.
And you saw it, McMillan, he's just desperate to get by Hunter. It almost cost both of them. So, and if they get into that again and it just happens to send them both off course, this could be a race that could just be handed right off to Davey or Tesker Jr. as they get ready to head in for the pits.
Coming into the North Banking to complete the first half of this race, Stephen Hunter's got a handy lead. One wrong move at this racetrack, and your race could be over. They barrel down the banking off the final corner, and Hunter looks like he's going to bail into the pits. McMillan's going to follow him. Mark Davey stays out again, so he's going to continue this overcut strategy. And for the first time in a handful of laps, we see some life now from the 92 of Jeffrey Finguy, who's been stationary in the pits for about 5 laps now. and he's now going to try and put fresh tires on it. Looks like they fixed whatever the issue was with that 92. Is he going to make it back onto the racetrack? He's still stationary in the pits right now, but there he goes. There's the 92 back into this race. He's going to be 4 laps down and well out of contention for the race win, but Jeffrey Finguy's back in the race, and now we've got a couple more guys trying the overcut strategy. Nick Ortiz, Kevin Carter, Nelson Reeves, and Anderson Reed in the 15. All of them are trying this overcut strategy to see if it pays off for them, because the guys behind saw how well it worked out for Mark Davey and Cale Tesker Jr. They said, we're going to give it a try now. And now we've got 6 cars staying on the racetrack an extra lap.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works out, because, like I said, guys in the back were probably told by their crew chiefs and spotters, hey, the 01 pulled something off and it did well. We got to try it and see what it does for us. So I'm curious to see what this will do for Reeves and the others as they cycle through. And it's also nice to see Finguy finally able to make it back onto the track and salvage whatever points he can.
If he can complete the rest of this race, he'll at least be able to get ahead of Lane Sanders and gain another point that way. But it's still going to be a tough afternoon for Jeffrey Finguy. After winning at Bristol and entering this race with the points lead, he will most definitely lose that after this race, but he's hoping to salvage as many points as he possibly can, even if it's just 1 extra point, because every point matters. We've seen cars make the playoffs by 1-point margins before, so Finguy's hoping for something special later in the season. But as they head through the North Banking, Mark Davey continues to lead. You see a couple cars straggling at the back, but now Mark Davey makes the move to pit road, and I imagine everybody else who's doing the overcut will follow him in. Cale Tesker Jr. follows him in. Nick Ortiz, we're got an eye on him now. He's going to come in now as well, and I assume everybody else will follow suit. Kevin Carter, yep, he's coming in. And Nelson Reeves and Anderson Reed undoubtedly will follow suit. There's Reeves coming into the pits, Anderson Reed as well. So that should cycle the lead back, actually. Well, considering Mark Davey had the lead after this overcut worked, now we'll see what happens here. Because here are the cars that pitted on at the end of lap 10. Stephen Hunter, Jake McMillan, and now Andres Molina's brought himself into the party. But now McMillan, for the first time all afternoon, has finally been able to pass Stephen Hunter on the racetrack. So all that persistence is paying off.
Not clear yet.
Not quite, but this is still better than he managed to do. Oh, Nick Ortiz coming out of the pits. He's got to be careful. Oh, and Hunter and Molina had to slow it dramatically to avoid crashing into the back of Nick Ortiz, and that allows Jake McMillan to get a massive lead over the 51 and the 7, but critically, he's going to still be behind Mark Davey and Cale Tesker Jr. They're still running 1-2 after their pit stops. So it looks like the overcut is the way to go if you can make it work.
And whatever was going on with the 92 there with Finguy, they must have got it fixed, because he's just, even though he's still multiple laps down, out of contention for the win, he just took one of those laps away by passing the 01. So he's definitely trying, and whoa, the 7 and 51 here.
These two have history. These are the two cars that battled it out for the race win here 1 year ago. Hunter beating Molina by half a car length that day to take the win in last year's race at Monza. So these two know how each other race at this track, and I would expect neither of them to give each other an inch in this race. But critically, Mark Davey and Cale Tesker Jr. are putting on quite a good strategy call. And remember, these two were complete rookies to the Superstar Series. Mark Davey only made 1 start last year. Cale Tesker Jr. maybe made like 6 or 7. But this is their first full season, and both of their first times at Monza. So we knew Mark Davey would be a challenger because of how good he is on road courses, but this is a bit of a pleasant surprise from Cale Tesker Jr. 2 rookies leading the field at one of the hardest tracks to compete on in this series. Could we see them finish 1-2?
It's really nice to see this, and like I said before, his road course experience, his He is in his element right now, and he is having a field day with the fact that overcut strategy is paying off.
And let's see what the lead is between himself and Cale Tesker Jr. It's 4.2 seconds, so Mark Davey has a lot of room to play with heading into the final round of pit stops, which should happen on about lap 15 to 16. But Cale Tesker Jr. is doing everything he can to hold off the hard-charging Jake McMillan behind him, and Stephen Hunter and Andres Molina, they're closing in as well. So this race is not over. I know Mark Davey's got a huge lead, but the battle for second's going to rage on.
And yeah, he's right there. McMillan, and he goes wide. He pulls the Davey line here, and it's not quite going to pay off at that point.
Because going into Della Raggia, the corners flip-flop, and now it's just a matter of time before it's going to bite these guys. Because Mark Davey, with these guys battling it so hard, they're going to be contending for the lead before long. Because, I don't know, Mark Davey's got a huge lead. But if these guys continue to battle, Davey's just going to extend his lead more and more. And that's obviously not going to stop Jake McMillan from trying to get second spot as they head into Ascari.
And he's trying to get by Tesker Jr. here, and he's still not quite going to get it. Maybe he will there.
Now McMillan clears Cale Tesker Jr. to move into the second position. So we'll see how this works out now. Can McMillan chase down Mark Davey before the final round of pit stops? And will the 01 and the 02 stick to this overcut strategy that has paid off for them so well in this race? It's going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on, as we're about 2 laps away from the final round of pit stops.
Yeah, honestly, I would think that if the overcut strategy is working for the 01 and the 02, why take a risk of something going wrong, changing it up? That would be the smart thing to do. Even though Tesker Jr. is not in the second spot anymore, he's still in the hunt for a good finishing position, and that's exactly what he wants to see.
So McMillan, now Stephen Hunter's getting involved in the battle for second. He's going to try and make a move on Cale Tesker Jr., but has to back out of it a little bit. That allows the 02 to get a run on the 21 of McMillan. Now Cale Tesker Jr. moves back into second place. And Mark Davey's lead is pretty much stabilized at about 4.3 seconds. So these two battling is not impacting their gap to the leader. So Cale Tesker Jr. having the strongest race we've seen him have this season. And now McMillan's going to sweep around the outside of Curva Grande, try and get around him. But it's not going to work out this time, and Cale Tesker Jr. holds the lead going into Della Raggia.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice that Hunter kind of checked up a little bit there, like maybe 3-4 turns back, and no, he's still in the fight. It's just he's got a rebound right now.
He let Andres Molina past him in the 7, so now the 7 car is up to 4th spot. Hunter back to 5th. This is the lowest he's been all race long. We'll see what he can do to regain lost time, but now Mark Davies just checked out from these guys. He's got a huge lead, and we can confirm now Jeffrey Finguy has gotten past Lane Sanders in the running order, so he will pick up an extra point for that. And Christian Vargas, critically, in the 54, who's running 8th right now, he's got the fastest lap point, so he will earn a bonus point that will carry through for him the rest of the regular season, hopefully in his bid to make the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. But focusing now on this battle for second between Cale Tesker Jr. and Jake McMillan, heading out of the Parabolica. They're going into the North Banking, and I think McMillan's just going to have a nose on them.
Yeah, this is a really good battle to watch, even if it is for second. It's the most excitement we're seeing at the moment. McMillan and Tesker Jr. here, they just keep going for it. And the 02 just keeps coming out on top, which is very impressive.
The King's Motorsports equipment is always strong, no matter where we go. And we're on lap 15 now. This is going to be the final set of pit stops coming up at the end of this lap. And maybe the end of the next as well. It'll be interesting to see who commits to this overcut and who sticks to the planned strategy that McMillan, Hunter, and Molina stuck to. And the question is, are fresh tires worth coming in early for. We haven't seen it pay off that much. We've seen the overcut be the way to go most of the time, but with the rubber being laid down and so many cars having trouble today, this is just gonna. Is it worth coming in early for fresh tires, or is the overcut still the way to go?
It's hard to tell. In some races, the undercut works great, and then the overcut will work great another race. In some races, it flip flops. So far, the overcut just seems to be the way to go. And like I said earlier, Tesker Jr. and Davey, they'd be idiots. Pardon my wording, but if they just decided to do something different, because that could very well destroy their chances at a top two finish.
Mark Davey has about a 4-second lead heading into Ascari. Cale Tesker Jr. doing everything he can to hold off McMillan in the 21, and they're side by side for fourth with Molina and Hunter. We've seen this before at Monza in years past. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top this year. But heading into Parabolica, Hunter stays out in front. Cale Tesker Jr. continues to hold off McMillan for second, but Mark Davey continues to be in command of this race. If he were to get his second win of the season already, he'd be the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year at this point. But Cale Tesker Jr. is keeping him honest in that battle, at least, as they head off into the North Banking to complete lap number 15. We're about to see what the pit strategy will be for these front-running cars. And Stephen Gale looks like he's had an issue similar to Polanski's. He's right at the tail end of the lead lap. McMillan looks like he's going to come in. Cale Tesker Jr. staying out. And it looks like Mark Davey's deviating from his strategy. He's coming in on lap 15 with everyone else. Cale Tesker Jr., however, is committed to this overcut strategy. He is going to assume the lead of this race, while Mark Davey deviates. This is the first time we've seen him pit with everyone else. And depending on how quickly he gets in and out of the pits, this may cost him.
Yeah, Tesker Jr., he may be sitting pretty here if this all goes wrong for Davey, and I don't know what to say about that. I cautioned against this. I mean, of course, they can't hear me, but
it looks like as well, J.D. Martin in the 66 looked like he was going to try and come into the pits that lap, but he found his path blocked by other cars, so he's forced to do an overcut. We'll see how that affects the 66 for the rest of the race. Nelson Reeves also stayed on the racetrack for an extra lap, but Cale Tesker Jr., he's the one we're keeping our eye on. He has committed to this overcut strategy all 3 rounds of pit stops, heading through the Plesmo Corners now. This is going to be very key for Cale Tesker Jr. if he can hold on for just 5 more laps in this race.
Yeah, he's looking like he could be the smart one here if this all plays out. I still can't believe Davey went in with the rest of them. That's just not what I was hoping to see, because, like I said, you got once you find a strategy that works when it comes to green flag stops, if it gets you a good position, and that's what Davey had, you don't deviate from it unless you're willing to take a risk that something is still going to work out in the end.
Maybe he thought he had such a big lead he could afford to try something different. We'll see if it works out for him, because Cale Tesker Jr. is yet to pit. It's going to be very interesting to see once this cycles out in about a lap or so. So Cale Tesker Jr. rounds the North Banking to complete lap 16. He's most definitely going to pit at the end of this lap. He absolutely will. He's running on fumes at this point. Here he comes. So Cale Tesker Jr. makes his final pit stop on lap number 16. And Nelson Reeves is going to join him there, his teammate at Kings Motorsports. Reeves trying something a little different to improve his position, maybe. And here he comes into the pits as well. But looking further back, it's going to be interesting to see who ends up with the lead. J.D. Martin, he's going to come in as well. Jeffrey Finguy out of contention. Andres Molina now has the lead of the cars that came in on lap 15. Mark Davey has fallen well behind. Molina's got a massive lead over these guys. Cale Tesker Jr. in his pit. Nelson Reeves and J.D. Martin joining him. Now he exits the pits. We'll see how he blends out coming out of the pit lane. Now he can get back up to full speed. But coming back, Andres Molina has a massive lead over Jake McMillan, Stephen Hunter, and Mark Davey, who are now squabbling amongst themselves for it'll probably be third at this point. Because Now, Andres Molina, all by himself, trying to track down Cale Tesker Jr., who will still keep the lead of this race.
Yeah, that, like I said, that I honestly don't know what Davey's crew chief was thinking there on having him come in with everybody else. It looks like it's definitely going to cost them, no matter if it's Tesker Jr. who wins or Molina. I don't know what to say.
What I can say is this is fallen right into Cale Tesker Jr.'s lap if he can hold off a hard-charging Andres Molina for 3.5 more laps. This would be the biggest race of Cale Tesker Jr.'s career if he can hold on. Remember, he has yet to score a win in the 1-Up Racing Series. He ran a full season in the Nitro National Series a year ago, and he ran really well. But he was unable to find victory lane, but Jared Polansky liked what he saw in this driver and picked him up for a full season in the Superstar Series, and he's about 3.5 laps away from making it pay off in massive fashion.
Yeah, Polansky's not having a good day as a driver, but as a team owner, he might be sitting pretty here pretty soon.
Heading down into Parabolica right now, we'll find out what the lead is for Cale Tesker Jr. next time they cross the line. Jeffrey Finguy might try his luck with the O2, see if he can't get one of his laps back again, but at this point, Cale Tesker Jr. can't busy himself fighting Jeffrey Finguy. That's not his race right now. His race is with Andres Molina in that 7, who is, by the way, closing in at a rate of knots. So this race is not over by any stretch, because Tesker Jr. cannot afford to fight Jeffrey Finguy for an extended period of time. Just let the 92 go, let him carry on, maybe even catch a slipstream off the 92 if you can. We now have 3 laps to go. We'll see what the gap is at the line between Tesker and Molina. You see the black number 7 off in the distance. The gap between these two, 2.9 seconds. So Andres Molina has to make up about a second a lap to try and track down Cale Tesker Jr. here.
And as he said, let Finguy go, and he did let Finguy go. That is the smart thing to do, because fighting with a lap car is something that can cost you a race at a track like this, for sure.
So Andres Molina is trying his absolute best to chase down this blue and white O2 to try and take the win away and redeem himself from a race lost last year. But regardless of who wins this race between these two, it would be an incredible story. For Cale Tesker Jr., it would be his first career win after so many tries. And for Andres Molina, it would be an incredible redemption story after the near miss he had a year ago at this track. But with Jake McMillan in third, 7 seconds off the lead, they're probably not going to be contending for the race win. So now it's going to be a battle between Tesker and Molina to see who can come out on top here at the Temple of Speed.
And you see right there, Molina has closed a little bit. I mean, he's still got a bit of work to do to catch up. But this could shape up to be a very good battle. Could even end up being a similar battle to last year when it comes to getting to the checkered flag, if he can catch up to the O2 pretty quickly here.
Heading through Parabolica, the one disadvantage of being behind Jeffrey Finguy, Cale Tesker Jr. is finding out very quickly. Being in that turbulent air causes a lack of downforce through the slow speed corners, and that just allows Molina to close up even faster. But heading through the banking, it's quite good to be behind the 92, because you can get a slipstream and be even faster through the banking. We're coming to 2 laps to go. We'll see what the gap is between the 02 and the 7, but Cale Tesker Jr. has got to drive 2 perfect laps here. If he's got 12 more miles to go, and he'll be celebrating his first win here shortly. As we see one car in the pits with a crash, it looks like the 19 of Blair. She was running about just outside the top 10. Her race is now over. A similar story perhaps to what happened to Jared Polansky and Stephen Gale, but the gap between Molina and Tesker has been dropped by a full second. Now Molina's only 1.9 seconds back. I said he needed to gain about a second a lap if he's going to try and catch the O2, and he's doing exactly that. And now these guys are only 5 seconds out. They gained 2 seconds on the leader that last lap. So this race could be blown wide open on the final lap of the race.
if Molina can get up there to Tesker Jr. and they get to fighting, it could be anybody's race for sure. Among those who are not too far behind him now, and apparently closing in pretty quickly.
Heading through to Plesmo Corners once again. Plesmo 1 done. Heading on to Plesmo 2 next. Cale Tesker Jr., he's got a very slim lead now.
He's closing.
Molina is getting closer. And for all we've said about Mark Davey's road course talent, let us not forget, Andres Molina is the original road course king of the 1UP Superstar Series. He always runs well on these road courses. He got his first win last year on an oval at Indianapolis, but let's not forget, he is one of, if not the best road racer we have in this series. Mark Davey might be challenging him for that crown right now, but Molina has been and always will be one of the best, and now he is proving his work right now, closing in at a rate of knots on Cale Tesker Jr.
Yeah, and I'm honestly thinking if Tesker can hold off Molina, as you said, being the king of road courses, that'll definitely add to the talent and the story, and I honestly think that would definitely earn him some respect for having earned the win by holding off the best at road courses if he can get it done here with like a little over a lap to go.
Coming to the white flag this time, Cale Tesker Jr. leads by a thin margin. The gap, only 0.3 of a second. The battle is on between Molina and Tesker Jr. A rookie in the Superstar Series versus the road course king. And we got 6.2 miles to go to decide a winner here in Italy. And they're coming off the South Banking for the final time. They are nose to tail heading down towards the Curva Grande. Could Finguy play a factor? They close back up on him. Tesker is going to try sweeping around the outside of the Curva Grande. That's a bit of a risky move for someone trying to get their first win. They're both going to try sweeping around him. I think Tesker is going to manage it, but I don't think Molina will. That is going to be a big decider in who wins this race, because now Finguy is going to get a nose on Molina here, but it looks like Molina might be able to clear the 92 going into the Plesmo. No, he can't.
Nope.
This is going to be a very important factor in who wins this race, because right now, Cale Tesker Jr. is hoping that 92 holds up Molina even more, and he continues to do so. This is an incredible battle between a lap car and the two leaders closing in on the end of this race. We've only got 2 more braking zones to go. This is going to be an absolute thriller all the way to the end.
And right now, Tesker's hanging on, but Finguy giving Molina that draft. This definitely ain't over by any means. And now Finguy's gotten back ahead, and now it's just a matter of can Tesker hang on here. Oh, he's holding on for all he's worth, that's for sure.
That was the final braking zone of the lap. Molina gets underneath Tesker Jr., heading down towards the North Banking for the final time in this race. Cale Tesker Jr. looking for his first career win. Andres Molina looking for his second. Molina's got to try and get a draft off the 02 through the banking for the final time. He's got to pull out right about now to try and have a run on him. He might wait till the last moment. This is going to be a very close race coming off the banking for the final time. Cale Tesker Jr. in his rookie season.
He's got it.
In the 1UP Superstar Series, Cale Tesker Jr. wins in Monza for his first career win in 1UP racing competition, and he does it by 7/100ths of a second by a mere car length, holding off Andres Molina. And once again for Molina, this will be a very tough pill to swallow. Second again at the Temple of Speed, but we knew he was there, and that was an absolute thriller of a battle between 2 of the greatest talents we have in this series. Henry Thomas made a huge run at the end to come home third ahead of Jake McMillan in fourth. Mark Davey, his strategy didn't pay off at the end, and he will finish 5th. Stephen Hunter finishes 6th after dominating the early stages of this race. Roberto Crown Jr. gets his 4th top 10 in as many races in 7th. Nick Ortiz 8th. Diego Yepes 9th, and following right behind teammate Daniel Bouchard will round out the top 10. But this was an absolute incredible race from start to finish. Strategy was all over the place, but in the end it came down to a showdown of raw speed. And in the end, it was the Kings Motorsports group of Cale Tesker Jr. that made it happen.
Yeah, that was an amazing finish, and Cale Tesker Jr., he did what he needed to do. He held on. He stood firm. He did not back down, bow out. He did not let the road course king intimidate him. And Davey, what could have been?
He will settle for a 5th place finish. That will move him back into the top 5 in points. But like you said, what could have been for that 01 car had he just stayed with that strategy that carried him all the way to the front? He will have to settle for a 5th place finish. But that is it from Monza. We had an absolute incredible time here in Italy. The fans loved it, and we loved it as well. The drivers, I'm sure, loved it as well. And next time out, we head to another really fast track. This time we're back in the US of A at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That track has always been a staple of the calendar, and we're looking forward to that as well. What can we even expect from Las Vegas, considering the unpredictability of this race here at Monza?
It's going to be interesting to see how things play out, because you go from the big sweeping and twisty turns of a track like Monza to just the Vegas in and of itself can be quite the race sometimes, depending on how you look at it and what setup can be I should say strategy can be played there.
And remember that it was that race last year that Stephen Hunter had his massive accident that derailed his season. Hopefully he can make it the full distance next time out. So, from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Monza. The Temple of Speed has not disappointed for the 3rd year in a row. We have a 3rd different winner here at Monza, and it is a first-time winner as well. For 2 first-time winners this weekend. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you the 1UP Superstar Series from the Temple of Speed at Monza, and we offer our biggest congratulations to Cale Tesker Jr., who overcame the odds, executed a perfect strategy, and held off one of the sport's best in securing the biggest race of his career. We say goodbye from Monza, on to Las Vegas right up next week.